Hi, and welcome to the Thinking Out Loud podcast, a show with meaningful conversations in English with non-native speakers like myself, Jendrik.
And myself, Masha.
And we are two English teachers who,
Focus on modern skills, whatever they are called. This soft skills. Do we focus?
well, obviously, I mean, isn't language a soft skill
Yeah, but
after
I
all?
mean all these fancy skills like critical thinking, problem solving.
Oh, you're right. You're right.
Do we focus on these?
I would say absolutely, since we don't really focus so much on the forum as teachers. I said it in our previous newsletter
Hmm.
that if somebody tells me to teach them certain area of grammar, then I become a really bad teacher suddenly. Well, I could do it in the sense that, okay, this is my profession, but this is not where I put emphasis, you know,
So you teach
on. So,
critical.
I mean,
You
isn't
you
like,
teach skills through language.
yeah, exactly.
Do you think they
I
can
mean,
be even separated?
you mean thinking and language? Yes, they can be, unfortunately. They can be. And
Yeah, but you,
they very, in fact, very often they are. I mean, language training
yeah.
is understood as building the hardware, the grammar structures and certain, um, let's say tangible, tangible things like linguistic items, vocabulary, grammar, pronunciation too, to some extent. And in fact, yeah, these three areas I sort of take them for granted, and I quickly move to the fourth one, which is semantics, which is meaning, which is communication, which is, the whole thing that is very, very hard to first assess, and second, of course, teach and improve in this in the conscious way because it's happening, but somehow on its own.
So you expect students to deal with those with the hardware on their own?
Sort of, yes. I mean, I intervene only when there's a problem. When there's like when the communication is broken, when it, to me, the number one thing during language lessons or during our sessions of conversations, should I say, is that we should be 100, both sides, or however many sides there are, we should be 100% aware of where we are and where we are going. And we are in this together, in the sense that, I know what you're saying, I know where you're going, and you know what I'm saying and where I'm going. And
Yeah, but
if there is some kind of a,
it sounds like a driving test. But in order to take the
Mhm.
test, you need to do some training before. So you expect your students to do some training on their own
It's true,
because you need to
or
know
to
how the
come
car
ready, yeah,
works
or
and
to come
yeah.
ready, like, fortunately, I have, I don't know if I have ever thought someone from like zero skills, like totally zero. It's very hard to be totally zero, honestly, in English today, being, for example, an adult. I mean, it's very hard because, even if you haven't had any formal lessons, then you've definitely,
At school, you mean
uh,
everybody learns English.
yeah, school, but even if you haven't had English at school, then you have definitely seen and heard English somewhere, right? So you're never like totally a total stranger to this language, right? But once again, it's true that my work is somehow building upon the work of some other teachers, who are dealing with hardware, and I am totally grateful for
But you don't
that.
have to do this because somebody has
That
done
I
it.
don't have to do it because, once again, I say I can openly say I'm not good at this. I'm not good at teaching the so-called grammar.
Okay.
All right. So when you say that I and I guess you work in a similar fashion, right? I mean, so when you say that we concentrate on
Well, but I also
the
have to teach the hardware these days.
so you're like one leg in the old school teaching, one leg in what is that?
Yeah,
This is not an old school, so it's a
for survival reasons, I do it,
yes,
unfortunately.
yes, yes.
Mm.
All right, but once
Because it's
again,
easy to sell.
it's easy to sell. It's much easier because it's
Much
concrete, you
easier.
know. I
Yeah,
mean,
it's very concrete.
I mean, students expect to learn language
There
and
is a
they expect
takeaway
to learn
value. At the end, they have something.
takeaway
Yeah, I've
value.
learned
Exactly.
present
Yes,
perfect. I've learned this and that today.
exactly. Exactly. So it's true. It's much easier to sell because it's commodified. This is language
Yes,
commodified.
yes,
It's a product. There you
yes.
go.
There you go.
Yes. Yes. But yes, I'm dealing with something that's much harder to commodify. Unless you really wrap it up in some kind of a, fashionable mambo jumbo, like these, soft skills, critical thinking, blah, blah. Of course, it's there inside, but I kind of feel strange selling it. Like, you know, come to me and you will leave no smarter or
Enlightened.
enlightened. Yeah. I mean, who am
You're
I to
just a
to do that?
bad seller. That's it.
I'm a bad
You're
seller. Yeah, of
just
course. I'm
not a
a teacher and I'm
businessman.
not a seller. Yeah, I should honestly partner with a very good sales person, and then I'd probably be
Like, artists, singers, they have their managers
yeah,
to deal
yeah. They have
with
their
because
managers. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
well, you need a
Good teachers
manager.
should also have their managers. Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely, absolutely. If I ever think about financial success, I should hire a manager. Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. So with that being said, let's not bore our audience with the technical stuff of whatever selling and so on.
Well, why bore? I think people need to know what to expect. It's
They need to
nice
know what to expect. Yeah, yeah.
if they
But
want
but
to one day, have
but
classes with us, because after all, we
absolutely.
are
And
two
I
English
think
teachers.
yeah, absolutely. And I think that people would actually get to know us better listening to the thinking out loud proper than to us talking about, because this is where you can have a glimpse into what we are doing, because the conversations we are having are pretty much the same stuff that we sell later uh, through the market,
So that's what you can expect here to encounter in class.
Yes, exactly. Except we are dumber than our
Except no
learners.
farts,
All right,
which you
great.
sometimes play.
Masha, are you ready for some serious thinking?
Never. But what
Never.
choice do we have?
But exactly. And which reminds me that it's always too late because we meet and we record, but I always feel like we should have some additional brain power here, our students and so on. So I guess it's slowly, um, dawning on me that I should be really taking care of inviting people here. Like
Smart people.
seriously. And people, if you want to be on the show, which I'm pretty sure you don't want to do, but please reconsider, because it's nice to be on a podcast and to think out loud.
And one more benefit you told me just before we started recording, that it can compensate. I mean, you can burn some calories, because right now I'm recording um, instead of working out in the
Exactly,
gym.
exactly.
And
Masha, so
you
this is,
promised that, yeah, I'm going to burn a lot of
yeah.
calories.
Yeah, yeah, but you know that brain is burning actually a lot of calories,
Yeah, I
once it's
know,
engaged, really. It's a hard work,
but
right?
those muscles, you know.
Yeah. Great. Masha, there is a serious problem to solve.
Ooh.
I'd like you to tell me if there is any difference between going against the grain and breaking the rules. What do you think?
Well, very often going against the grain involves breaking rules,
Hmm.
but that's not the the ultimate goal. Yeah, you don't
What
go
is the,
against the grain in order to break rules.
but you need to break them in order to go against the grain, or you don't have to?
No, you don't. Very often it involves breaking the rules, but it's
Hmm.
not like you always don't have to. Well, you always have to break some rules.
So
You
you can go
just,
against the grain legally, like, you know, without
yeah,
breaking
like you
the
go on a
rules, breaking the law.
one person protest or something. Protests are legal. It's a legal way
Oh, yeah, you're right.
of expressing your disagreement with something, right?
Hmm.
Or
In
you,
democracy.
yeah.
Yeah.
Or, for example, uh, I don't know. Oh, it's going to be a long story, but in my country, the schools are so poor they cannot
Hmm.
afford, to, for example, replace old windows or something like this, and
Hmm.
it
Hmm.
always falls on the shoulder or other pockets of the parents.
Hmm.
And I mean, most of the parents obey
Hmm.
because, it's
It's
like
an
a sacred.
implicit rule, it's
No, no,
like,
no. It's okay. Not only that, but when you start arguing, they say the argument that just kills it in the bud is that, but it's for your child.
oh,
I'm like,
I didn't know that.
okay, but but you are begrudging, this and this number of, the money so that your child will feel, safe and warm with new windows. And I'm like, okay, but let's separate the what is it, the chef from
Oh,
the
yeah, yeah.
whatever.
Sorry,
Yeah.
I don't know the English translation. I know the phrase in
No,
Polish,
the
but
chef, the one is of them is the chef. But I mean, isn't it supposed to be done by the, I don't know, the some
authorities,
city
by.
authorities, and
Yeah.
I pay taxes in order for them to distribute this money, in a proper way. So
Mm.
if we do this, being guided by this principle that we do it for our children, these guys don't have to. And you're kind of feeding, okay, corruption in this way.
Yeah, yeah,
But many people
yeah.
just don't see it this way. That this is
Mm.
simply because, people always think, oh, corruption, it's about politicians, it's about people who have power. But it starts, at the root, grassroots level. It starts with you. Every time you choose
Hmm.
not to stand up for yourself, not to go against the grain, and simply, follow through with whatever is happening. I mean, is it legal? And
Now,
I
yeah,
refuse to
but
pay, and I refuse to chip in. And I'm
mm,
an outcast very often
you're an
because
outcast.
I
You
hate,
go
because I don't
against.
care about my child.
Mhm.
So I go against the grain. It's pretty legal. I mean, it's even more legal than
Yeah,
chipping in.
yeah, 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 exactly, exactly.
Okay.
I was thinking for a second, mm, if going against the grain means breaking the rules. In fact, it doesn't. I mean,
In my case, no.
in that case, it doesn't mean breaking the rules, but going against the grain simply means being brave. Brave enough, bold enough to
Yeah,
say
but
no, I'm not paying,
sometimes
or
when you say brave, I immediately think of, the Braveheart. Yeah. He
yeah,
went against the grain and
he
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 had
was he
to.
was going against the grain.
Yeah, but he broke many rules. I mean, were these rules fair? Definitely not. But they were
That's another
rules
story.
at
Yeah,
that
that's
time.
anher story. But
And it's very often you have to break the rules because you consider them simply unfair. And you
but
exhausted all legal ways of,
mhm.
changing them.
Sure, sure. I mean, in the case of Braveheart, it's true, but I was thinking a little bit about, let's say, a family that has forever been staying in let's say one town, and then you move as a child, for example, you move out, or you start a new life somewhere else, is that also kind of going against the grain, right?
Why? How?
Why? Because you know, your family has been staying in one place for generations, and then and you decide to change the lifestyle, you know. I don't know if that's a good example, but you know, it's and then again, it's not like there is a rule in there are rules involved, that our rule is that we always stay in the same place, but you are bold enough to say no, I want a different life, right? So
But
I guess
different doesn't mean against.
exactly. That's what I'm saying. What I'm trying to say, that doing something different doesn't mean that you're necessarily breaking the rules.
It doesn't necessarily mean that you go against the grain.
Yeah, I was, you know, one question I'd like to ask you is it possible to go against the grain in the army? What do you think?
No.
It's not
No, you would be just breaking the chain of
the
order,
rules.
the rules. Yeah.
But I was thinking more like, and what about a company? If we replaced an army with a company, like a big corporation, being a rebel teacher in a big institution.
Yeah, why not? I
So
mean, will you
so
be fired? Probably.
all right,
But I mean, in the army, you can also do this, but you will be simply, I don't know, during the war, probably killed.
put in jail, I guess, or what? But that depends, you know, because you know, going against the grain is creative thinking and solving problems in some kind of unorthodox way, going against the grain. In my opinion, it sort of is.
Yeah, but I mean, in the army, it will not be even seen like this under no
Hmm.
circumstances. It's just
Hmm.
plain wrong. That's the nature of this organization. But in
Hmm.
company, where especially the ones that promote, this out of the box thinking, they really actually expect you to go against the grain,
Hmm. Yeah,
to
yeah,
disrupt
yeah.
stuff. Well, it
To
depends. I mean,
disrupt, yeah.
if you're a startup, maybe if you are, or maybe even if you're a giant corporation that's already, kind of mm, that needs some fresh ideas, new blood, they would hire such people, disruptors, and expect them to go against the grain and bring their company to, the next level or something like that.
Hmm. Hmm.
Not in the army.
The army is
I
not
mean,
a
you
startup.
can, I mean, you can, you can, but what stops you from? I mean, it depends on the level of, right now we are trying to decentralize our army. We're trying to bring it to the NATO standards.
I thought it has been decentralized some time ago.
Well,
I
yeah,
mean,
we are
judging
still
by
we
the
are still
effects.
working on it, but
Mhm.
imagine you command a small unit. You have certain freedom, yeah, to do some things, I guess. And if you think
Sorry,
another
what's going
way of doing things would be better, you can go to your, I don't know, superior officer and simply explain.
on? Hmm.
See, first you run it by this person, and then if you get authorization, you go ahead and do it your way. But you can't simply. But sometimes in the heat of the battle, you can't. You don't have this luxury of running it by anybody. You
Yeah,
have to
yeah,
do
exactly,
here and now.
exactly, exactly.
But later
I
you will
think, you
be
know,
judged for
we
this, I
we
guess.
may be we may be thinking about the army in a stereotypical way,
Hmm.
but who knows? Maybe exactly decentralization of the army and so on. It clearly favors some sort of let's say, uh, innovative thinking,
Hmm.
about
Hmm.
the battlefield, about waging a war in general. And I guess this opens the door for some sort of going against the grain, right? It
Hmm.
just needs to be authorized, like you say. But if it's authorized by principle, then why not? Because going against the grain is, again, it's about breaking certain mental barriers. It's about thinking in an unorthodox way, and so on. It's simply about being, like I said, brave, but not necessarily like Braveheart was, but thinking differently. Simply,
I now
that is.
comes to mind the story of this pilot, Sully, yeah, who landed his plane on the Hudson
Mhm.
River. It was going
Oh
against the
yeah,
grain because no
absolutely.
plane ever, I think, no passenger, no human ever survived such landing,
Hmm.
or should I say,
Hmm.
watering landing.
Yeah. Well, it was
But
landing on
he
water,
made, but he made this decision.
yes.
And then, have you seen the movie? Do you know the story?
You
Okay.
know, you know.
Okay. And
I
later,
know the story. I know the
it's
story,
an
but
amazing story because he saved, nobody died.
mm,
But still, after this incident, they initiated this procedure, of checking whether he made the right decision or not.
mm,
And it's a
mm.
fantastic story because,
You mean that he was taken to the court?
yes, well, not
Oh
court, but
God
their
damn.
internal,
Or
some internal
whatever,
person.
but
Yeah,
commission.
commission. And, their argument is that they ran the whole situation on a simulator. And
Hmm.
the simulator made the decision to take the plane to the nearest airport. And
Hmm.
according to the simulation, he landed, well, the machine, whoever landed the plane safely at the airport. But this guy, he chose not to go to this airport, which was offered, but land on the river.
Hmm.
And he was like, okay. But then I don't remember how exactly it happened, but then okay, he said, let's run another simulation. And because during the first simulation, they didn't take into account how should I say, this factor of facing a totally unexpected situation. So he was faced with the
Hmm.
decision.
Hmm.
He needed at least 3, 4 seconds to think about it and to make a decision. And during the first simulation, it was like this. Okay, the birds hit the engine. Let's go to this airport, or to this. Let's go to this airport. So the
Hmm.
simulation
Hmm.
was the first simulation didn't take into account the time you actually have to think to make a decision.
Hmm.
And when they
Hmm.
added this time, these 4 or 5 seconds, the plane crashed. It didn't get to the airport. So it
Hmm.
showed that he actually made the right decision. But he
Hmm.
had to go against all rules,
Yeah, break the rules. I believe in that case, right?
Yes.
But I guess he did the right thing, right?
Well, yeah.
Luckily, of course, everybody
Yeah.
survived, but that is his skill, and
Yeah.
and so on. But they could have died. They could have died,
They could have, but the most shocking thing is that they put him on trial for what? For saving the lives of people?
But like I say, I'm not defending it. It should be dismissed very quickly, which I hope it was. It wasn't like a long trial, was it? I don't know.
Don't
But
remember.
the thing is that they could have died, technically speaking, right? I mean, and nobody would honestly be surprised, right? Because
Yeah, I think the
the
idea
fact
was
that
that they,
that he saved them was like a miracle, but still it doesn't perhaps justify these decisions that they had to inquire into
yeah,
it. I
they
mean,
had to attribute it to pure luck. They had to show
yeah.
him that the decision you made was wrong, and the
Hmm.
fact that everybody survived it was
Yeah.
pure miracle or luck.
Pure miracle.
But
Yeah,
he
yeah.
proved that no, it was this, human. He
The
made the right
only
decision
the only
as a
possible
human.
decision that
Yes,
was, yeah, yeah.
yes, yes.
Yeah, but then again, that is, of course, that is part of going against the grain. I think that mm,
Especially when you're responsible for the lives of other people. I mean, it's not only your life. That's
mhm.
tremendous responsibility. I'm never able to do that. Never.
Which is, why people prefer to have certain rules and stick to them, right? Procedures. In case this
Yeah, he
happens, I
could have
do that,
followed
you
the
know.
procedure and he wouldn't have been blamed for the death
Yes.
of all. I mean, he would have probably died himself, but
Hmm.
yeah.
Yeah, but if he survived, you're right. You're right. All right. So that's going against the grain. In this case, um, I was thinking also about one more thing. Um,
Well, it's actually
is going.
always breaking rules, you know. Maybe sometimes it's unspoken like a rule, unwritten rule, but like in my cases, there's also a rule I'm breaking.
You mean what is your case?
The financing
Ah,
repairs.
yeah, yeah. The
There
fencing
is an
repairs.
unspoken rule that
Yeah,
parents should
yeah.
pay for it, and I'm breaking this rule. So it kind of almost always involves, no?
D Depends, of course, on the definition of rules, right? If they are formal
Yeah,
rules,
yeah,
or
yeah, yeah, yeah.
because breaking the rules, if the rule is something that we commonly do, then of course, every time you, like I say, if you change your lifestyle, you decide to leave your town and go live in another country or wherever, then it is somehow breaking the rules,
Traditions in
but
this case. Okay.
traditions in that case, yeah. But I was thinking of a more general question: is going against the grain profitable or not? What do you think? Is being
In the long
is
run,
being
yes.
a non-conformist profitable in the long run? You say?
Yeah. Well, I mean, profitable. Is feeling good that you did the right thing profitable? Do you define it as profitable?
Yeah, it's a very good question. So it looks like we can be better off emotionally or financially,
Yeah,
materially.
sometimes you very often lose a lot.
Yes.
But this you do it because it goes, um, you have certain principles and you live by them, and it feels good.
Hmm.
It's
This is
just
what
the
I
right
heard
thing to do. You
is,
feel it's the right thing to do.
yeah. This is what I heard lately about Poland, that it's a country that has been fooled into doing the right thing instead of looking at the balance sheet, And
What do
so
you mean?
I mean
What was the
that,
right?
it's we I don't know, of course, if I can speak. I hate sociology, and these aggregates, like we, like the Polish people, like we are like one entity. Of course we are not. But very often, if you look at the decision of the country itself, it's driven by some kind of and generally the so-called right thing to do in from the moral perspective.
But
But
what
it's
did
not.
what did France do that was the right thing to do from the moral perspective?
I'm
Increase
speaking about
pension
Poland. I'm
age?
speaking about my country,
Ah,
meaning
Poland.
Poland, not
Okay.
France. I don't know so much France, but Polish people who and Polish leadership generally is very easily fooled with, oh, we are friends, we are friends. So friendship is, let's say, more important than concrete assets, concrete contracts, and so on. So it's like we are happy when somebody pats us on the back.
Yeah, but that's not the
You
right
know,
thing to do. It's pleasing others.
it's
The right thing
pleasing
to do
others,
is
but no, no, but look, Masha, if you look at the global discourse, of course, happening in the United Nations, headquarters and everywhere else, that discourse is full of, let's say, moral. mm, I want to say preaching, democracy. There are some concepts, democracy, rule of law. Another concept, but they are all concepts that refer to the right thing to do, right? This is the right thing to do. But you know that in practice, reality is totally different, or at least, if not totally, then very much different, you know. And so it looks like, the values and the right thing to do is something for, the for the public opinion, but what is being done are actually deals
But that's
being
the difference. The
traded, you
right
know.
thing to do feels you feel it because it's your principles. Very often
Mhm.
something is being imposed on
Masha, this
you
is
as the
replacing the
right thing to
Windows.
do.
This is the same thing. This is replacing with because you save. I mean, you save your child from
Yeah, but for me, it doesn't
drugs.
feel
You know,
like the right things to do. It feels like a manipulation. It is a manipulation. But for
but
me, I
don't
have
you?
my own principles, and for me, the right thing to do is very different than to these parents. You see what I mean?
Yeah, I know, but you're right. This is actually quite cheap. You know that this kind of the argument that that your
It's
child
not
will be
even an
warmer. Yeah,
argument, it's a manipulation. Because
it's a
if you
manipulation,
think
but
deeply about the matter, you will see that it has nothing to do uh, with whether I care about my child's well-being or not. Absolutely nothing.
yeah, you're right. You're right. But if you, I think the level of cynism is different. If you look at the global level, right?
And many
I
things
think
that
that.
are right things to do today are imposed on us by,
Mhm.
I don't know, and for me, they don't feel like the right things to do because I have different values.
Yeah, different values, but generally, mm, I think
Generally,
that
there are only
the
10
experts.
commandments, the
Yes,
right things to
yeah,
do,
you're
and
right. You're
everything
right.
else,
But
it's
yeah,
depends
but
on the
but
context.
there is the experts right now are speaking about the separation of values and interests. They are sometimes opposite, very often, in fact. So a value such as, I don't know, democracy or the rule of law is one thing, but another interest is to have a cheap energy or lower inflation or whatever you name it, right? They're very concrete, very tangible things, and somehow these tangible things uh, win, always. They got primacy. This they are being privileged, but of course secretly, because it's kind of it's not going to go down well with the public if you say that. Depends, of course, because I see that right now maybe Americans are openly speaking about these tangible benefits, of reducing
Very
administration,
openly.
of reducing, yes, of reducing the arms shipments and so on and so forth. But yeah, they are no longer kind of dressing it. But it probably could be the same under a different administration. But just the other guys would simply dress it in some kind of you know more beautiful words.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the thing is that I don't know what does it have to do with going against the grain. At the end, I know
Mm.
how did we even end up discussing? All
Politics.
right, but yeah, but yes, that's what it is. Good.
It's actually going with the grain, what you've been talking about.
You mean
Public
what?
opinion.
Following? Yeah, public opinion. Yeah, yeah. But the thing is that yes, you can. Because yeah, I know how we ended up here. I mean, because I asked if it's profitable to go against the
Mm.
grain, and then this profitability has two faces, right? One is being profitable, let's say, materially, and the other one is being profitable, meaning feeling good
Mm.
at the level of your
But
soul,
even
let's say. Yeah.
materially, it's still in the long run. Think of all these, I don't know, Thomas Edison. How many
Hmm.
times did he, fail?
Hmm.
before he succeeded. I don't know, all these Facebook, Bill Gates, they started in garages. Nobody believed in
Hmm.
them. They really went against the grain.
Yes, they
And
went against the grain.
and
Yes.
in the long run, look at this.
You're right. You're right. Persistence, right,
Hmm.
pays off. Pays off. So going against the grain, it's also, persistence. It's a quality that, by definition, is opposing, right? The grain, the stream. Yes, and you go
Let's ask
upstream.
let's ask AI.
Oh yeah, let's ask
Let's make it
AI.
a
Why not?
regular feature. Yeah.
All right.
Do
So,
you want to do
Masha,
that?
are you going to? I don't know who's doing because I'm asking Copilot, you're asking Claude, so I don't know. Will you ask Claude?
Okay.
All right. So let's prepare, going against the grain versus breaking the rules. Is it the same or not? I bet there will be a very nice and sleek answer.
Grain and breaking the rules. It started answering.
All right, great.
That's a
So,
great question about two concepts
oh,
that seem familiar but have important distinctions. Going against the grain refers to acting contrary to established customs, trends, or conventional wisdom, by the way, but
we
not
said it.
necessarily
We said it.
but not necessarily you're defend okay, but not necessarily violating any explicit rules. It's about taking an unconventional approach or challenging assumptions. For example, a filmmaker using an unusual storytelling technique is going against the grain of traditional cinema, but they aren't breaking any filmmaking rules. Breaking the rules, on the other hand, involves directly violating established explicit guidelines, laws, or regulations. These rules are typically formalized and may come with defined consequences when broken. For instance, exceeding the speed limit or plagiarizing someone's work clearly breaks established rules, but we would never call it going against the grain, right?
Oh, yeah, you're
So the
right.
key
You're right.
differences
Like,
include, and now we could go to bullet points, of course. Formality.
hmm.
Rules are explicit and formalized. The grain refers to informal customs and or norms. Intention. Going against the grain
Hmm.
often seeks to innovate or challenge. Breaking rules may be rebellious or simply expedient. Perception. Going against the grain might be viewed as innovative or bold. Breaking rules is more likely to be seen as transgressive. And
Hmm.
consequences. Breaking rules typically has clearer, more defined consequences. Does
That
that
is
clarify the
absolutely,
distinction
yeah,
between
I think it does. I didn't, when asking about going against the grain, I didn't, and we didn't even focus on what is that grain, right?
Yes.
And now I see
And that's why
that
we
that
struggled at the beginning because rules,
mm,
what are rules?
yeah, exactly.
And
And we also had a problem. We had a problem, but we talked about these unspoken rules. Like the unspoken rule is that you chip in to the project.
yes, but
And I don't know if you actually, but this is
formal
not,
customs or norms, that's what it calls it.
yeah, so yeah, so that's a grain. It's a grain, I think. It's not a rule,
Hmm.
to be honest. It's a
Yes.
grain. And you go against it. So
So we did quite well,
breaking,
I would say.
I think yes. I think yes, which is, I guess, counts as a success, given that we are much dumber than AI.
Mm,
But
incomparable.
but one more thing. Um, it was a nice example of that speed limit, of course. If
Hmm.
you break the rule, I mean, you definitely don't go against the grain because there's nothing innovative or I don't know what.
No,
I'm
I
not
would
sure about.
never call it going against the grain, breaking the rules. You're simply a rule breaker.
Yeah, but
There is
how about
nothing
how
because
about?
it says, listen to this. There is nothing perception. Going against the grain might be viewed as innovative or bold. There is nothing innovative or bold about breaking, I mean, bold. I wouldn't even call it bold. I would call it
Hmm.
stupid.
Hmm.
Breaking the speed limit. I mean, for the sake of breaking the speed limit, not because your wife is giving a birth on the back seat.
Yeah, that's different. But how about what Zuckerberg once said? What did he say? Break the rules and what? I guess I'm gonna Google this. He said break the rules and move fast or what? Zuckerberg quote break the rules. Move fast and break things. Oh yeah, this is what he said. Right. He didn't say break the rules. All right.
Yeah.
He said break things.
Thanks.
So all right, good. So maybe it's different. It's this is the spirit of disruption, right? You disrupt a business, you disrupt. But again, I guess it's all about going against the grain. It's not about
Grain, not rule. Yeah, not
breaking the rules. I
rules.
mean, that would be really strange if
So where we really screwed up is defining rules and defining grain.
and the grain, yeah, and the grain, exactly. So
So we can learn to think out
we can
loud
learn to
better
think better. Yeah,
using AI.
yeah. But we are not far
Co-intelligence.
from not far from it. So maybe one day we could even replace the AI. Or
Nope.
we could, train ourselves
No,
to
it
to
took it less than 10 seconds.
yeah, it's true. But at least we had some pleasure exploring. And maybe by the way, maybe we have also stimulated someone to think about it. But it's
Hopefully.
true. All right. Great, Masha. It was a pleasure anyway. Thanks a lot. And no matter how long did it take, but I feel smarter now.
Cool.
All right. So I
So
guess it's
if
over
you
to
want
you.
to feel smarter,
Ah, yeah. Then
then
there's one thing you can do. You can sign up for a fantastic language course that is unlike any other, and that means basically studying with us. So
or you can be a guest on this show if it's
you can be
absolutely
the guest
free,
on the
absolutely free.
show. Yes, you can get in touch with us. All the links are in the description, and our website is flashing all over the video. If you're watching the video, if you're listening, it's tolpodcast.com.
Or
Great.
you can subscribe to our newsletter,
You can definitely subscribe
which you
to our
can receive
newsletter
every week thanks to
every
the
Sunday
captain.
morning. Yes, every Sunday morning, Masha, but you are still, your warm thoughts are with us. So your spirit is there too. So it's great. Yeah, the newsletter is a great project. I like it a lot. So don't hesitate to subscribe. And you can also buy us a virtual coffee if you appreciate this show and the newsletter. So don't hesitate supporting us this way. We could replace the windows in our beautiful flats so that we don't get cold recording.
Thanks everyone for
Good.
staying with us. Yeah, this was another episode of the Thinking Out Loud podcast. Stay tuned for the next one. Bye.
Bye bye.